7 o'clock. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Northeast. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could you conduct a roll call, please?
Supervisor Cannon?
Here.
Councilman Fideli?
Here.
Councilman Kay?
Here.
Councilman Midwood?
Here.
Councilwoman Morrison? Here. We have quorum.
Okay. I have sent out an agenda this evening. I'd like to amend the agenda by removing item number 8 regarding the Highway Garage ban. So I'd like to have a motion to remove that item.
So moved.
Second. Yeah, there's a motion to remove that item and therefore amend the agenda. Jim?
Supervisor Kay? Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fideli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye. Motion passed.
Okay, I don't have a lot that I want to share with you tonight in terms of my comments. I was on a conference call with our county executive earlier today, and the reason for the call is the upsurge in cases of COVID-19, which we have been hearing about nationally, internationally, and also locally. And it does say something that Mark Molinaro felt the need to convene the supervisors again. As of today, there were 595 cases of COVID that the county is tracking in Dutchess County, with 21 people hospitalized and 2 people who have passed away in the last few days as a result of COVID-19. The county has, at the moment, a 4.1% positivity rate from the testings that have been done. The county executive said that we need to understand that number would go up and down according to how many people have been tested and why they sought out testing, but that the infection rate, which the state and CDC tracks, definitely shows Dutchess County is at a high rate of transmission. He did talk about the percentage of the county of people 18 years and older who have received at least the first dose of the vaccine, 71.2%. So the county is getting there in terms of that. And 55% of those people have completed their complete first and second. He also said something that I found interesting, which was that the projections which they get from CDC project that this wave will peak here in the Northeast in mid-September. So that was the first time I've heard that. I don't know where that comes from, but he did share that with town supervisors and mayors today, which I thought was interesting and somewhat good news. Although we've got a month to go until we get there. Anyway, I'll talk later about the protocols for COVID here in Town Hall, but he said the point that they're trying to make to everybody is the importance of vaccinations. vaccinations as the single most helpful thing that everybody can do is to get vaccinated. And they are trying to find the populations in the county which are under-vaccinated and address those. The other thing which I just want to note, and try and keep this non-political, is the state is about to have a new governor. And the thing which, in addition to the fact that she would be the first female governor of New York State, and that she is from Western New York, which are both, I think, welcome developments. The thing which I thought is worth noting to you all is that Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul served 12 years on the town board of Hamburg, New York. So just so you all know, this could lead somewhere. But I think that that's actually great news, because she has, it sounds like a plug, and it's just simply reflecting the fact that she has served at all the different levels of government, which I think will be helpful to a new governor. Okay, moving right along. I have distributed a copy of the police department report for July. Supervisor Beers here. You want to make any comments or things you'd like to note about it?
No, I mean, as you can see, reading there was a total of 38 calls for July 2021. Comparing that to last year, it was 3 more than, last year was 3 less. And there was 3 arrests last year as well. This year we had a record-setting 0 arrests.
It sounds like we've been busy, and when I look through here, there's so many different things for which people need, where there's a need for some intervention, something. It's not always what we think of as traditionally as policing.
No, I mean, we see it all. From a lost wallet, a lost dog, cows in the roadway, cows being tied up to a doghouse. I mean, we're there for anything.
Right. Okay, does anybody in the board have a question? No? All right. Thank you for stopping by.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We still got nothing?
No, I think you're good now.
All right, we're going to discontinue this. This now, we're going pretty much 10 minutes. Something for us.
I do. I have an amended 284 agreement for the board to consider. I have added 2A and 2B. 2A is for Hill Road. It's the section we're working on is 0.57 miles in length. We are going to, we've already started, we're going to improve the drainage. We're going to mill a 1,500-foot long section that's coming apart, 1.5 inches deep. We're going to TNL with hot mix paid 2 inches compacted, and install new gravel shoulders.
So which portion of Mill Road is this?
We're going to start at the village line and go 0.57 miles to the south.
Down to Downey Road?
It doesn't go all the way down. The entire length is 1.4 miles between village line and Downey Road. We've only got enough money to do the 0.57 at this point.
Okay.
But it is the worst part of it.
Is that over the hill, basically?
No, it's just before McGee's or John Walsh's place, where we're stopping.
Okay.
The cost is not to exceed $165,000.
Okay.
And then 2B is for West Street, the entire town portion, which is 0.14 miles. Improved drainage, 10 hot mix paved 2 inches compacted and installed in gravel shoulders. Cost not to exceed $40,000.
Okay. This is the result of your getting the notification from the state.
Yes.
CHIPS money being available at this point.
It's $184,833 from the state this year.
Okay. And then how does that compare with, well, last year was a strange year.
Very strange year. It's the highest we've had.
They held back 20%, now I think
They've given that back to us this year, which is part of that $184,000.
Okay. Could I have a motion to authorize Bob to proceed with this agreement?
So moved. Second.
Gail?
Supervisor Kenneth?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Ludwig?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Motion passed.
Anything else?
John, the oil and stone that I spoke about last month, we're scheduled to start that the week of August 23rd. So we're getting ready for that. We're busy with drainage work, replacing culverts.
Otherwise, everything good?
Everything's good.
The trucks are okay?
One truck, the 2015 F-350, needs 2 new exhaust manifolds, and it needs in the rear axle, it needs the gears replaced.
Okay. Where will that get done?
Northeast muffler.
Okay. Good. Anything else?
That's all I have.
That's all you had? Anybody have any questions for Bob?
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our assessor is away on vacation, so I'm presuming we don't have a report from the assessor. We received reports from the town clerk for building, zoning, and planning. And I don't believe we have any, I know we don't have a ZRC report, I don't believe we have a police or recreation report. Okay. We're gonna move right along then. The next item on the agenda is the authorization for the town to issue an RFP for improvements to Irondale Road drainage. Ray is actually on vacation as well, but Bob, you're familiar with that project, aren't you?
Yeah.
So this is where Irondale Road meets 22?
Correct.
And there are drains there that are non-functional?
There are state drains there. The issue is the water comes down Irondale Road and it can't get to the state basins. They're so far away. And it ponds up in the intersection, and of course in the wintertime creates ice conditions, which is very dangerous when you're coming to a stop sign and hitting ice conditions. So the plan is to put 2 new catch basins right close to the corners of the intersection, one on each side, and run pipe down to the state intersections, or state catch basins, excuse me. But the only thing is, in order to get the permit from New York State, they are making us replace their basins because they're very old, which are cast in place, so they have to be jackhammered out and then plumbed up and repoured.
Right, so it is a project. I did ask Ray how long he felt this project would take. He said probably less than 2 weeks from beginning to end. But it is something that's been, I think, George, this is a project you are familiar with.
It's been going on for many years. So, happy to get it done.
Yes, very.
So Ray has prepared bid documents, and I believe we need to have a motion to, I can't recall, Warren, whether we talked about this, whether I need simply a motion or a resolution to authorize the town to issue a request for proposals.
Correct. Just a, I mean, it could be a written resolution, or you can do an oral resolution for the record. Did Ray, he didn't prepare, I'm assuming he didn't.
I don't believe we saw a resolution. No, we saw some bid documents. They have had, there have been a series of corrections to the bid documents, and I believe that they are now satisfactory. I'm gonna, I think Ray is back next week.
I'll just make a motion authorizing the RFP to go out for bids.
Okay, would somebody like to make that motion?
So, make a motion that we put out an RFP for the Irondale, improvements on the Irondale roadside drainage, and that we put out an RFP on.
Second. Okay. Jim, take your roll call.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilman Morrison? Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you. I distributed to the board and to town clerk this is going back to the uptick in COVID. As you know, we've been through a variety of different restrictions on town hall, from the depths of COVID when town hall was locked and everybody was working remotely, to the relative joy that we had earlier in the summer, and unlocking the door and having people feel free to come in, and people who are vaccinated not having to wear masks. I sent the following note to department heads. As you may be aware, the CDC recently updated its guidance regarding COVID as a result of the increasing incidence of the Delta-19 COVID variant. It is now recommending that fully vaccinated people should wear a mask in public indoor settings in areas of substantial or high transmission. Dutchess County is now listed as an area of substantial transmission. While we are all enjoying what felt like a return to normalcy, there is increasing evidence that vaccinations by themselves are no guarantee that people can't be infected. And while vaccinated people are unlikely to become severely ill or die, they can still transmit the virus. We do not want town hall to be a place where transmission of the virus could happen. Therefore, as a slightly revised protocol, in the interest of protecting ourselves and others, all town hall employees are asked to get fully vaccinated. Two, the door to town hall will remain unlocked. However, we will continue to transact as much business as possible through pass-through windows. Three, everyone, including those who have been fully vaccinated, will be asked to wear a mask in town hall. As before, people who have been completely vaccinated and are working alone in their room do not need to wear a mask. And four, meetings can continue to be held in the boardroom. Everyone attending the meeting should be asked to wear a mask, and we will continue to observe the 50% capacity limit. Don't love going backwards, but this seems to be where we are. Any thoughts or comments from the board? Anyway, I would like to ask for a motion to approve this protocol for town hall.
So moved.
Second.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilman Morrison? Motion passed.
We are now going to turn to the discussion of the legislation that was passed by New York State concerning the legalization of cannabis in New York State. And some of this will be, the board has heard before, maybe almost all of it, but I think it's worth digging into, and Warren is up to date on this and is going to be able to help us with this. But I'm going to give a preliminary little introduction, and Warren, I know you're going to be able to see some spots in this. But the state is in the process of setting up a substantial department or bureaucracy or whatever you want to call it to regulate and otherwise permit a variety of activities connected with cannabis. For instance, there is the growing of plants for processing and so on. That is going to be controlled by the state agriculture department. So there are a variety of things that we have nothing to do with and we don't need to worry about. There are two things that the town does have responsibility to think about. One is the potential to have dispensaries located in the town, and the other is the potential to have on-site consumption, which otherwise referred to as smoking lounges in the town. The towns and villages will receive tax revenue from the sale of cannabis products. The town will receive 3% of tax revenues from that. The county gets 1%. I think the state gets some very large amount. I think it's over 10%. Is it? Okay. Anyway, it's a lot more than towns get. And there's some nuance in terms of towns with villages. If the town has a village in it, the town and the town has a dispensary in it, the town and the village will share revenue. If the village has a dispensary, the town and the village will share revenue from those sales. I have been told that there is some situation in which if maybe the town has something and the village doesn't, that they don't get their revenue, but I haven't seen that in anything.
Where the village doesn't get the
Yeah.
revenue? I don't think that's true.
I don't think it's true either. I've heard it from people in the village.
Yeah, I haven't heard that. I haven't seen anything like that.
In any event, one of the aspects to consider about this is the tax revenue. And I think I've shared with everybody here my observation that I think the tax revenue, which people have heard that Great Barrington has received, which is substantial, not to be taken lightly, is tax revenue from selling a product for which people in all of Western Connecticut were driving to Great Barrington, and a lot of people in Columbia, Dutchess County might have been going to Great Barrington. It gets more complicated in that towns have the opportunity or the option to opt out of having either dispensaries or on-site consumption, one or the other or both in their town. If they opt out, they have to pass a local law opting out, which is then subject to a public hearing and subject to permissive referendum. And of course, if there were a petition, a successful petition, then that matter would be put on the ballot, on a ballot. And I believe that it is too late to put it on the November ballot, so it would require a special election. If the town does nothing, we are automatically opted in, and after December 31, cannot change that. We cannot change our minds. If we opt out, the town has the opportunity after December 31 to change its mind and to opt back in. And I think that's the core of what towns are facing. But I'm interested.
I think you've covered it pretty well. I mean, basically, I'll just go over some of this, maybe repetitive, but as you know, in March of 2021, the governor signed the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, legalizing adult use cannabis, also known as marijuana, in New York State. And the legislation creates a new Office of Cannabis Management, OCM, and a Cannabis Control Board to oversee and implement the law. It's going to take some time for all of that to be formulated. We're anticipating a year or two before that comes into effect. But the law that was passed by New York State really puts a fairly strict time period on the municipalities in that if you do nothing and do not opt out, you will be opting in automatically for retail sales and for on-site consumption or lounges, however you want to call them. If you do opt in, if you do nothing, or you decide to opt in, then the town will be passing amendments to its zoning code to regulate, just like any other use within the town, where they can be located with restrictions on location and everything else that goes along with the normal types of zoning ordinances. It would be similar to ordinances which deal with bars and liquor stores, things like
And the
that.
town would not use its zoning code to prevent them from, as I understand it, either.
Yeah, we cannot use, if we do allow it,
Right.
the regulations cannot be overly restrictive. They have to be reasonable. So you can't, under the guise of regulating it, prohibit it. And if you're going to prohibit it, you have to prohibit it within the town. The problem is that for municipalities is that if you don't take action by December 31st, if you do nothing, you will be deemed to have opted in, and that will then be permitted within the town, and you can't opt out at a later date, according to this law, the way it stands now. So the municipalities like Northeast are grappling with what to do about all of this in the short time frame that they have, without a lot of information on how this is going to be administered and what the impact is going to be on the municipalities. So to help you through this, what I have done is I've prepared two local laws. For one to opt out of the retail and the other to opt out of the on-site consumption. I have them ready for you to go. I've prepared two resolutions for you to adopt, which would start the local law adoption process, because that's the way you have to opt out to a local law. And the laws are subject to a permissive referendum. So if you were to opt out and pass those laws, or one of the laws and not the other, someone could challenge the law by filing a petition calling for a permissive referendum. So if you opted out of the retail sales, and there would be a period of 45 days from the date of after you conduct the public hearing and when you pass your resolution, in which a petition can be filed with the town calling under the state election law, and it's actually governed by Section 24 of the Municipal Home Rule Law, for calling for a permissive referendum, which is a vote. Same thing for the other local law regarding on-site consumption. If you opt out of both of them, you can always opt in next year. It's not a problem. You're not prohibited. So municipalities are grappling with what to do, whether it's better to play it safe and opt out, and then decide to opt in for one or both next year or the year after. I'm not sure what the time period will be for opting in. But in order for you to deal with it responsibly, I think you should go ahead with the 2 local laws for opting out. I see that you have a public information hearing at the end of August.
I do, and I was going to talk about that.
Okay. So I think you'll get feedback from that public information meeting. You'll get the pulse of the community. You'll also get additional feedback when we have the public hearing on the local law, which I assume will have sometime in September. We'll probably set it for a town board meeting in September. So the public will have an opportunity to weigh in at that point. Unfortunately, the time period has been so strict, and the way the laws are written, and there are conflicting laws with regard to permissive referendum that I had to grapple with, and I still haven't totally sorted it out. But if we were to pass the laws in sufficient time, it would be the referendum would call for, it would be on the ballot for this year. We don't have that luxury. We don't have that time because of the time frame. There's a 45-day period after you pass the local law on which the petition can be filed, and the petition has to be filed. There's no way you could get it on the ballot for this year. So it would have to be through a special election, which is an expense for the town. And it's a pain in the neck, to be honest with you, but it can be done. So what I did was the law that I created for you specifically provides that if a petition is filed calling for a permissive referendum, that it will be there will be permitted a special election. My reading of the law is that without that, we might be in a catch-22 situation where you can't actually hold a public hearing. So I've added that to the law, and I think that covers the town. So I prepared the 2 laws, I prepared the 2 resolutions, I prepared a set of talking points for you, which I have used for a couple of other municipalities. And
I distributed those to the board.
Yeah, you've seen that. And attached to that is a paper published by the Office of Cannabis. Very, very helpful, some of the stuff I went over tonight. It gives you all the information that we have at this point. There are a lot of unanswered questions. We're not exactly sure how monies will be distributed. We're in uncharted waters at this point with regard to these laws. But the safest course of action is to go with what I recommend, and that's go forward with the local laws. When you're not obligated to pass them. You can go to the public hearing, have the public hearing, and decide that you want to withdraw them. So, and then just allow one or both. You could withdraw one of them and not the other. So you could allow retail and not.
I think that's an important point that you're making, which is by passing resolution and a draft local law tonight, we can pull it.
You're not committed to anything.
Right.
Not committed to anything. But if you don't do it, then we don't have your stuff. So
we just move further and further into a time jam, basically.
And then you can get into a time period where we can't even hold a special election prior to the end of the year. So that's why it has to be, time is of the essence to start on this. But you will have a lot of time to make your decision and get input from the citizens of the town as to what they would like. So it's unclear what knows. I mean, you probably, I don't know if you've gotten any feedback from
I have.
From the mayors.
A lot of the recent, a week and a half ago, our new mayor of Billington, Jen Nidek, and I attended the DCSMA, the Dutchess County Supervisors and Mayors Association meeting, at which this was the main topic. And I was struck by a change in the mood of the supervisors from many who had said a few months ago, yeah, absolutely, we're not going to looking forward to it, looking forward to the tax revenue. To a lot of people saying, there's so many unknowns about about the state and what they're going to do. I mean, they have not even set this up. So, I've seen several communications which have said, 2022, maybe, 2023, maybe. In other words, it's going to be a slow rollout. And I've had, I was going to say, the mayor and I have scheduled an opportunity for a public forum on this on the Tuesday, the 31st of August at the American Legion at 6 p.m. This will not be a board meeting, it's not a joint board meeting, it is not a formal meeting, it is a community forum which Jen and I will moderate. It will provide us an opportunity to convey information to people about the structure of the law and what the implications are for towns and villages, and then it will be an open forum for people to tell us how they feel about it. So I think we should probably discuss and see how the board deals. We have two items really to decide. One is whether we would like to permit smoking lounges to be established when the regulations come out to prevent smoking lounges in the town. And the second one, I guess they can go in any order, but the second one would be for retail distribution and dispensaries. Thoughts from the board?
We don't have to make that decision tonight whether we're in favor of it or not, though, right?
No, you're not committing yourself to anything. You're just,
What we're doing is putting the wheels in motion,
Right.
but we're not taking an irrevocable decision. If we end up continuing to go down that road, we would be opting, if we approve the resolution, the town laws, and continue with that, we would be choosing to opt out, but that, either or both, but with a public hearing, and then with the opportunity for permissive referendum, and so on. So there are a lot of steps involved.
At this time, I'm in favor of opting out because nothing could happen now until before the end of the year anyway, right? Because there's no decisions made how they're going to do anything. So if we opt out, we're okay. Because if we don't do that, we don't have a choice to go back to
There
the way.
are two different things. There's the dispensaries and the smoking lounges.
I'm in favor of opting out of both. I am right now.
the other thing I point out is that you mentioned Massachusetts, of course, which allows it, but I'm not aware that Massachusetts has anything but retail sites. I don't know that they have on-site consumption. I'm not aware of that. I mean, we vacation in Massachusetts, so we know somewhat. And I haven't seen any marijuana lounges. So we don't have the experience of Massachusetts. We do have the experience of Massachusetts with the retail. And that seems to be working well in the towns and communities of Massachusetts, but not the lounges.
I understand that in Massachusetts, though, a fairly good percentage of the sales are made to, or were made to people coming in from Connecticut. And I know that the laws in Connecticut have just recently changed. So that may have a dampening effect on the tax revenue there. And I'm sure that's what everybody kind of takes a look at. My feeling is that there are too many uncertainties yet in this whole cannabis law, and too many uncertainties yet in what it will mean to the town itself to really be putting this into effect at this point. We can always, or whoever's on the board at that point, can always look into the laws at a future date. It's not as if we're shutting this down with no chance for going back and re-looking at it. So I would certainly be, at this point, opposed to both having lounge as well as the dispensary.
Rail, you have any?
I feel the same way. Yeah.
So, I mean, I spoke about this at the June town board meeting, I basically fleshed out how I feel about it. I do think we should opt in, but I understand the board would like to go another direction on the local law, but I'll be a no vote on the resolutions.
And that's the beauty of moving forward with the local law for opting out. You're not making a final decision.
Right.
Yeah. So you're not committing yourself, but you're keeping your options open. And you may know a lot more
There's going to be
from the public.
a bunch of more votes on this.
Does anyone, I know that the village before, I believe, was leaning towards opting in on either one or both of the options. Since there are several towns that now are, that originally were considering opting in, that they've changed their opinions on it. I wonder if there's been any change in the village.
You know, a month ago, I was told that the village would not be opting out, that the village was going to not opt out.
For both, were they thinking about it?
I'm not sure. But that it was not going to opt out of dispensaries. I don't know that that's true today. Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
Yeah, that's another reason why I think we might, if we do opt out and then don't reverse the decision, we might be getting tax revenue on the table if the village permits either one.
But we can change after, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the
Right.
community
Sending
may
the
feel
law
differently
opt out.
anyway.
Well, it's worth noting that, well, if we opt out and the village has dispensary, they get to keep 100% of the tax.
Yeah, I can only tell you, we started the process in Rhinebeck with doing this, passing the local law, opting out, starting the public hearing process with no final decision. And I suspect that we're going to be doing the same thing in Hyde Park, although I don't know for sure. We won't be deciding that till next week. And then Pine Plains is going to have a meeting on Monday, and then we have a meeting on Thursday, and then we'll make the decision as to how they move forward. So.
Anyway, so we have two resolutions. And I don't know which one we have up first, but I mentioned smoking lounges as first. So would you like to read that?
And we do have to pick a public hearing date to plug into the resolution, so.
Wasn't there a public,
I don't think we plugged in a date. I think we have a line for that.
maybe we plugged in the time and
Oh, that, I assume you want to just do it at the next town board meeting in September.
that would make sense. We will have had the forum in between. So that would, yeah, we'll have to figure out where we're going to be meeting at that point. If we felt,
Might want to do it on the annex if it draws a crowd.
Yeah, it might be safer to, I have no idea what kind of response.
we do not have to choose where we're going to meet at this
What
point.
does it say in the, what did I put in the resolution? Did I indicate where we're doing it?
No, it just, the public hearing for the law, blank date at 6 PM on both of them.
Right.
Because if we have 4 more people than we have right now, we're at capacity.
Yeah, here.
In this.
Yeah.
So.
I think you need to do it at the
Which
annex.
means we would, or we don't have, we have to state that in the resolution?
You have to say it in the resolution, but in the public hearing notice, I'll prepare a public hearing notice, and I'm going to want to get it out in the next week or two, so that you'll have to tell me.
So the board meeting would be at 7 o'clock, so we should schedule the hearings or I don't know when we've typically had here in 7:20, 7:25 or something. Should we, any thoughts on that?
7:20 is good.
Yeah. All right, so,
And having the same time warrant for both of them, or does one have to be?
5 minutes difference.
5
yeah,
minutes would work.
I mean,
all right, why don't we put the smoking lounges first then, at 7:20, and then the dispensaries second, because I think we may have more, there may be more people talking about the dispensaries than.
you'll have good sense, I think, at your public information.
Do we need a motion to approve the resolution before the reading of it?
Yeah, I need a motion to, are you gonna read, do you wanna read the, how long are they, what are they, about 2 pages?
There are a couple of pages.
Yeah,
And then the law.
you don't have to read the law,
The law's
just read the
not-
resolution, yeah. And what we can do is read one resolution, and the one resolution is identical
Except for the words.
yeah, so you don't have to reread that.
So do you want to
The on-site.
Yeah.
Accepting proposed local law and scheduling of a public hearing for proposed local law number 1 of the year 2021 entitled, "A Local Law Opting Out of Allowing On-Site Cannabis Consumption Sites is Authorized Under New York State Cannabis Law Article 4." Whereas on March 31st, 2021, Governor Andrew Cuomo signed the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, legalizing adult-use cannabis, as known as marijuana or recreational marijuana, in New York State. The legislation creates a new Office of Cannabis Management, OCM, governed by a Cannabis Control Board to oversee and implement the law, collectively referred to as OCM. The OCM will issue licenses and develop regulations outlining how and when business can participate in the new industry. The OCM will also oversee the state's existing medical marijuana program and cannabinoid hemp program, previously regulated by the Department of Health. And whereas the New York State law provides that towns can opt out of allowing adult-use cannabis retail dispensaries and/or on-site consumption facilities from locating within their jurisdiction, but to do so, the municipality must pass a local law by December 31st, 2021, and if the town fails to do so, the town will be unable to opt out at a future date. And whereas the Town of Northeast Town Board has determined that it is in the best interest of the Town of Northeast to opt out of on-site consumption facilities, or cannabis lounges within its jurisdiction. And whereas this opt-out determination does not prohibit the consumption and possession of cannabis by individuals or production and distribution, as these elements are regulated by New York State law. And whereas whatever action the town takes, the legislation of the town will not constitute, support, or endorsement of marijuana use within the town, and that such activities are strictly regulated by New York State law. And whereas this opt-out determination, while prohibiting on-site consumption facilities, does not prevent the town from opting in to allow such facilities at a later date. And whereas the town board has studied the issues and the proposed local law with the assistance of the town attorney and input from the town planning consultant, and have determined that the proposed local law is in the best interest of the town of Northeast. And whereas the town attorney has drafted a proposed local law, and whereas the town board has determined to move forward with the adoption of said proposed local law with full reservation of rights as a legislative act of the town board, and whereas the town board has determined that this is an unlisted action under seeker. However, because there are no other involved agencies, the town board shall serve as lead agency for the seeker review of this action and shall prepare the appropriate seeker documentation and analysis. And whereas the town board has determined that the local law is acceptable for purposes of undertaking the local law adoption process, including but not limited to preparing the appropriate seeker material, making the requisite referrals, and hearing from the public and other interested parties. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby accepts the said local law and schedules the public hearing on said local law for September 9th, 2021 at 7:20 PM. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to post and provide notice of the public hearing as required by law, prepare the appropriate seeker analysis.
The other resolution is identical, except that.
Let's do one at a time. Okay. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
And second.
Supervisor Kennedy?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Nay.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
The second resolution would be then identical to that, with the exception that where the words smoking lounges appear, it's
Retail sales.
retail sales.
That's correct, and it would be, what, 725?
7:25, correct.
So we could waive the reading of the motion since it is the same with that difference that we just discussed.
Motion?
Is there,
So moved.
George?
Second.
Make motion.
Second by Ralph Fidelli.
Supervisor Kennedy?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Nay.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
Thank you very much. So then our next step is, so those are our proposed local laws now.
We have the two proposed local laws that are fairly short. You have those, they're on your desk.
Then the next
And,
step would be to have a hearing on these local laws.
Correct.
Because they don't become law until we have gone through the period of permissive referendum.
That's correct. That would
If we
be,
go through the period of permissive referendum without a petition being filed, do they then become local law? at
that's
that point?
correct. If 45 days passes, and, well, if you adopt, if you, like, you know, move forward with those local laws, which you don't have to do, you make that decision at that time, then if no petition is filed, it becomes law within 45 days. If petition's filed, then we have to deal with it on a special.
What I'm not clear about is have we voted on the local law?
No, you have not.
Okay.
Only to start the local law adoption process.
So when would we be voting on the local law?
At the close of the public hearing.
Okay. All right, so that's when the 45-day clock
That's correct.
starts.
The vote will be,
Yeah,
I'll prepare a resolution, the vote will be subject to a permissive referendum.
okay. Hopefully that is clear.
And did we send you a part one of an EAF? I don't know if we sent you that. I bet you we didn't. So I'm going to prepare
Short form?
an environmental assessment form. We'll have that by the time of the public hearing.
Okay. Thank you for that. I earlier deleted the item regarding renewal of the ban that we took out on the highway garage. We are in the process of renewing a ban. We have a principal payment that we will be making out of the existing ban, so that the amount that we will be renewing, if I can find it here,
800 something.
Lauren, did you have that number?
861,570.
Okay. So the amount that we will be looking to take out a ban on is less than the $894,000 that we have. The authorization for the ban that we took out last year authorizes the supervisor to negotiate and agree on a ban renewal. We have a proposal from the bank. favorable to the town, and I will be continuing to work on that. We'll keep the board informed. I've also talked, I think, with everybody on the board about the importance of the town retaining a financial advisor. This is something which has become increasingly clear to me that the town needs at this point. We are looking at a major financing for the highway garage. We will be putting out an RFP for proposals for the construction, hoping that and believing that with the peak of construction activity behind us and materials costs already starting to decline, and with the labor market pressure declining, that we'll be in a position to get a better set of bids on the building. We also will be taking a hard look at the design of the building to see if there are ways in which the cost of the building can be reduced. But having said that, this is a major undertaking of the town, and I feel it's important for us to retain a firm which has the capacity and the experience to look at our financial structure and determine our creditworthiness, our ability to get an investment grade rating for a bond, and to guide us through that process. So I have begun conversations with several firms which have been recommended by our bond counsel, Douglas Goodfriend, who I talked to this afternoon. He and Warner was part of that conversation. He did not indicate a preference between the two. He said either one of them would be in very good hands. And I will come back to the board with a recommendation of a firm that we will hire. The cost of either one of them was very similar, in the area of $10,000. The potential savings that we could get from being able to go out for a bond to a much broader audience than just our local banks will almost inevitably produce rates that will more than justify that expense. Are there any questions from the board about that?
No, I was just gonna say, even if you get 0.25% lower on a 30-year, $3 million bond, it's gonna be well over $10,000 cost to get that, to hire the financial.
We will be needing down the road this fall to pass a new bonding resolution, bond authorization. Because the one that we passed is clearly not adequate. I would like to, this is just informative, I'd like to schedule a workshop meeting for the town board on August 26th. We might do this by Zoom. This is to review policies and procedures that the town has which impact on climate change. And it would be a discussion that would be led by Kathy Chow from Climate Smart Communities Task Force and the Housatonic Valley Association. This is one of the major action items that we applied for in the very, very beginning, which is and for which Housatonic Valley will be doing most of the work. But one of the items that is part of it is to get feedback from the board on different policies and procedures of the town. So for instance, one of them could be a policy that we secure our electricity from a non-fossil fuel source. One of them could be that we, and I'm just throwing things out there that aren't necessarily real, but one could be that all vehicles of the town have to be electric. Don't worry, Bob. The snowplow will not be electric in our lifetime.
before the...
Anyway, but those are the kinds of policies and procedures that are worth thinking about. And the HBA group has looked through the town's all the different policies that we have and have a list of things that we could look at and talk about. We won't be making any decisions. It's a workshop meeting, so we will not be taking any votes or anything like that. But I would like to, I'll be getting back to the board on that. Lastly,
Do you have time for that?
I don't yet. It will either be 5:30 or 6.
Okay.
Something like that. And I will try and make sure that it doesn't last too long. Lastly, we have, Dutchess County has asked us to, we have over the past couple of years had an agreement with Dutchess County to remove snow and ice from county roads that they either can't get to or which would be more convenient for us to take care of. We've had this agreement in place. I think it's been a good agreement for the town. And they have asked us to renew this agreement. I need a resolution to approve the renewal of the agreement with Dutchess County to provide snow and ice removal on certain county roads.
So moved.
Second.
Read the resolution now.
Yes, please.
This is resolution authorizing town supervisor to renew contract with Dutchess County for participation in the county's snow and ice control program. Whereas the town superintendent of highways has been requested by the county of Dutchess to participate in the regional county highway snow and ice control program within the boundaries of the town. And whereas the county of Dutchess is requesting that the town renew its contract with the county for participation in the county snow and ice control program. And whereas, and logically, an earlier or sooner response factor can be provided by town units and personnel within the locale, thereby benefiting the overall safety and welfare of town residents and local community interest. And whereas such participation by the town in removing snow from designated county highways and by sanding and salting or otherwise treating them for the purpose of maintaining highway safety and accessibility for emergency services is specifically authorized by Article 6, Section 135-A of the New York State Highway Law. Now therefore be it resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute a change order for the town's participation in the county snow and ice control programs, and the town superintendent of highways is herein authorized to perform such work in accordance with and to receive payment as outlined in the town and county contract for the county snow and ice control program for the winter season 2021 through 2022. Supervisor Kennett?
We need a motion to approve the...
That was, yes, Fidelli and Kay. They had done that earlier, actually pre the resolution.
All right.
So then the vote.
As usual, you're ahead of me.
Supervisor Cannon.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you. We have a public comment period. Anyone from the public?
Just curious, just for my own edification, George, are there specific concerns that you have regarding opting in?
I would like to see what happens in other areas, other towns around here before we actually go into the, I mean, I guess if I were to cite maybe just one thing, would it mean that we have to hire more priests to take a look at the situation? What factors are there that might add to the cost for the town? I think these are things that, need to be considered at some point in the future.
Anyone else? No? A fund, an expense increase of $40,900, less an expense decrease of $32,430, less revenue increase of $8,470, with a net of zero. Can I have a motion to approve that budget adjustment?
So moved.
Second.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
I have a budget adjustment for DD fund. That we count outside. It's an expense increase of $184,833, less the revenue increase of $184,833. A motion to approve that budget adjustment.
So moved.
Second.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, I have a special abstract dated July 27th, 2021, totaling $10,300.37, broken down as follows. A fund, $2,056.83. TV fund, $8,243.54. Do I have a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Not sure who was first there.
I don't think it really matters.
George makes a motion, I'll second it.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye. Motion passed.
I have an abstract dated August 12th, 2021, totaling $129,023.75, broken down as follows. A fund, $54,722.33. B fund, $576.00. DD fund, $42,988.78. Capital Projects Fund, $30,094.40. T&A2 escrow, $420. Payroll, T&A, $222.24. Could I have a motion to approve the abstract?
So moved.
Second.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you. The voucher committee for September, George K. and Ralph Fidelli. We have two sets of minutes to approve, which have been sent to the board by our clerk. The first minutes are the minutes of the board meeting of July 8th, 2021. Are there any comments on the minutes, or if not, could I have a motion to approve them?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Supervisor Cannon? Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And lastly, a set of minutes from July 15th. Again, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, our council is here. Do we have any legal matters to discuss other than?
No, all is good.
Yeah. Okay, well, I suppose that that's a good thing, that there are no enormous legal challenges facing the town at this point.
I better know.
Right, you never know, let's not say anything. Anyway, thank you for making the trip and being here. Anything else from the board? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ralph, seconded by Luann.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Carey?
Aye.
Councilman Bidwin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Warren.
Anyone?